Okay, we are live.
Yeah, I mean,
Hello and welcome to the CAPC workshop. Today is March 11th, 2026, and this is just a workshop, so we are not bound by the same strict ways that we do in a standard
Robert's rules.
meeting. Yeah, so things are a little more relaxed. So today on the agenda, we're going to go ahead and start with discussing taxing retail consideration.
Oh, pass this around.
So
Pass those down.
If I may start on this, because I'm the one
That
that
would be
kind of like
great.
brought it up. So my thought process in bringing this back up, to have retail involved in the collection of this tax, is that every single indicator, whether it be state tax submissions that the city council gets from Department of Revenue, all of the data that we're given by our director. Is that me, Avery, making that noise? Yeah.
Nope, that didn't fix it.
Can y'all hear it?
I hear it. There's a ring. A high
He's
ring.
working on it.
So every indicator that we are seeing, whether it comes from our own staff or the city or the state, indicates that tourism dollars are going to decrease. It's already happening with restaurants and lodging. Okay? My concern is that we are here and we are assigned the task of advertising for the entire city. That means all of our attractions, all of our retail shops, all of our restaurants, our bars, our hotels. And right now, we are doing that only with the money that we get from restaurants, bars, and lodging. But you have a 36% increase in retail tax that's coming from the Department of Revenue when lodging and bar and restaurants are dropping. So it only makes sense to me to bring back what we had years ago, which was the 2%. 2% for hotels, 2% for restaurants, and 2% for retail. Isn't that the way it was, Mike? Yeah,
Yes, it was.
2, 2, and 2. Fair and equitable across the board. No one was charged more than the other. And technically, we're not being charged. The tourist is being charged or the local is being charged. Many of us offset that by offering discounts to locals. And I just think that for the longevity of the city and what this commission is tasked to do, which is advertise for the city, we just need to take a closer look at what is going to, if we stay on current path with what we have at 3% for lodging and restaurants, personally, everything that I have looked at says that revenue collection is going to decrease. I mean, let's look at gas right now. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't want to bring politics into this discussion. Unfortunately, it's going to be because the prices are all going higher. So we're not going to have the day trippers like we used to get. We definitely do not have the business. I think Robert and Shira can probably speak with this as well. We do not have the business that we had 2 years ago. It is tanked. So how are we going to recover or at least put a slighter curve on what's going to happen? That's my concern. I don't know. Nobody has really said anything to me differently about the situation on who. So I'm willing to listen, change my mind. Let's have a discussion about it.
Okay. Danielle, you had some information that you included in all of the commissioners' packets in regard to the ordinance that was done in, I believe, 2007 and then repealed. And it was repealed relatively quickly, is my understanding of that. So I also grasped from the quick look at this that it would not be a decision that we would make as the commission alone to be able to put that in place, to be able to do that, that would be something that would be a city and municipal decision. Is that correct? Am I
Yes.
interpreting that correctly?
We can say, we think it would be good, or it can be bad. If we think it's good, then the city council would have to vote on.
Okay, yeah. So that is my understanding of things, so we can certainly discuss this as you all would like, but I don't know that we get to make a decision as much as we get to decide whether we want to put it forward to the council for further consideration.
Since you were on the meeting, David, what is the sales tax, the amount sales tax the city collects? Do you know?
I'm glad you asked that.
Because it's like, my point is, I'll explain it real quick. You know, we have like about 2 million, right? So that reflects, what is that, about 60 million, no, it's more, $65 million gross income. So if we have another 2% from retail, our, budget would explode probably. I don't know how much gross income that reflects the sales tax.
As far as income is concerned, I don't know what the dollar amount is for income. What we see at the city council level is, and it's not even broken down, it's broken down by retail, lodging, restaurant. There's all kinds of different subcategories. By far, over and over and over, month after month after month, retail is steadily increasing. The last report we received, I want to say the number was 36% higher than it was previously.
But in a dollar amount, you don't know how much.
What amount?
In a dollar amount, how much that reflects?
I'm sorry.
The dollar amount the city collected, that part of the retail tax. Do you know that?
Well,
Not off the top of my head. I didn't bring the budget with me.
That would then you can recalculate how much gross income that reflects.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm not really looking at it from an income perspective. I'm looking at it, I can tell this much was spent in retail because taxes increased by 36% or whatever, it's 30-something percent. And I can tell that our heads and beds decreased because the tax was decreased by 11%. And I'm just throwing numbers out there right now. So, and that's my concern, is that if we keep on this trend that I think we're going to keep seeing, we're going to be tasked with advertising for the entire city, but with a lot less funds coming in. Because we're already, and I'm speaking for restaurant, bar, and lodging, we're having to raise our rates because of tariffs. We're having to raise our rates because of the economic situation that we're in. So it's already making it that much more difficult for somebody to book a hotel or to book an Airbnb or whatever the case may be. And to take some of that burden off of business owners to say, hey, now I don't have to raise my rates that much to compensate for this 3%. I only have to compensate for 2%, or whatever the case may be. A break for those business owners in town.
But I mean, the thing is, if we would change anything, then we would go away from the 3% for lodging and restaurants, right? I mean, because we can't add another 2% from retail to the 3% we have on restaurant. No. So otherwise, because like I said, we have right now a $2 million budget, or income prognosis, and we would be, I don't know, 3 million. Like that would increase our spending money dramatically. I would assume, So we kind of have to balance it out. I mean, so we can fight the different fronts.
Yeah, there's a maximum amount. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. That a city or that a A&P commission can tax.
Yeah, that's 3%.
It is 3%.
Yes. So, it would not stay 3% for restaurants and hotels. It would drop to 2, but adding retail 2.
I think,
But the thing, I'm curious, what would be the effect if we do the 2% on retail? That's my question, it's like,
Well, you do-
how
you
much
do
money would that generate for the CAPC if we have something like that?
So I don't know who is the mathematical wizard here.
That is Ty, I believe, is my understanding.
Oh, okay.
Our mathematical genius, Ty.
Yeah,
That's what
we
Colton
need-
had just told me. And I was going to tell you, Robert, that there are some hypothetical scenarios on this worksheet.
Right, but these are only percentages.
Yeah.
Right, but you.
I want the money. I don't care
Well,
about the
I want the
percent.
money too. I don't know that that's
No,
a projection that we can easily make sitting at a table in a conversation without some time.
Right, we would need to see the city council, the budget or whatever or the P&L, so we can see how much money they actually collect sales tax from
But
retail.
I think,
sales tax is different.
well, but I think what Robert is saying is if we don't have a dollar amount for, like, let's say there's a 9.375 tax across the board, we can estimate how much money, if we know how much money that 9.375 brings in, we can estimate what a 2% tax on retail would bring
right.
in, and it needs to at least,
The city part would be smaller, like the 9.338, that's the whole thing, yes.
Yeah.
But then you have 6.5 goes to the state, and so the part the city would collect is less, is like
but if we know
2.238, I think.
if we know X number of dollars equals 9.4% of the
Exactly.
budget, then we can estimate what 2% of the budget
Exactly.
would be. And so I think what we would need is to know if we collect 2% of our current, which would be a third less than what we currently do, plus 2% of all of retail, does that at least equal what we're already
Are
collecting?
we getting back to 2 million?
Exactly. Are we
Or
now going to be over
surpassing-
or under or roughly this? I doubt it'll be exactly the same. We definitely have to know that number. Yeah, I don't think we can really make any kind of informed decision until we know that, though.
That's exactly the point, yeah.
Mike, do you have some thoughts to add?
Yeah, two things. Number one, you cannot spend your way into success. Number one. Number two, the available inventory of our lodging is decreasing. We have less rooms than we had 2 years ago.
Yep.
Why is that? Because some owners are converting over to short-term or actually long-term rentals. And I think our available room count right now is somewhere around 800 approximately per day versus what it was, say, in 2016, which was closer to 1,800. So we're off a lot of available rooms. I did take a look today at Airbnb, and I looked at the pacing of the rooms in Eureka Springs proper, the city limits versus the available inventory of the county. And we are outpacing what we did last year, but the problem is the room count is decreased, whereas the room count outside of the city limits has increased. In other words, there's more places to stay, but you've got to stay out of the city limits. And that is a problematic situation that we run into. So again, you can't spend your way into success. You have to make sure that you have the inventory available to go ahead and accommodate what we want.
And those that are outside of the city limits are VRBOs, Airbnb, correct? Not hotel motel.
That's exactly right.
Well, I guess the problem comes with the past. We have so many people, they purchased vacation homes around the lake or whatever around in this county, and they realized, oh, we're not, it's a vacation home, so we're not spending all our lifetime there. So then there were other people, they had the idea, oh, let's do some kind of a business creation around it, and we can rent your room out when you're not there. We had the MVR, with Damon, what he created years ago, and now there's other players around who use that kind of platform, and they help increase those people their revenue, and that's what we're losing out of the city.
Well, let's go back in history just a little bit. Let's look at 2007 when we did go into a 222, or actually we did 2% on retail. And then you saw very quickly, less than 6 months later, that ordinance was repealed. Now, I don't know how many of you were here during that time, but there was a fairly substantial reason that it got repealed. And it was, I can articulate a
Does
little.
anybody here know that reason? I don't either. Can you share it with us?
Why it was repealed?
I can tell you a little bit about it. I was sort of here. There was a lot of retailers that were just literally ticked off. They thought that they were being forced to pay a tax. And I can tell you some names, I wouldn't mention them here. But the point being, there was pressure, I think, put upon council at that time to go ahead and repeal that tax. Now, the alternative obviously was, well, who's benefiting from this? And I think the theory was, well, the benefactors are the bars, the restaurants, and the lodging properties. So let's go ahead and kill that tax on the retailers and just go ahead and lump another % back on top of lodging, which was the legal amount to go ahead and do. But think what happened in 2009 in the state of Arkansas. We went into a we lost money hand over fist. Banks were going out of business because the builders, the people that were doing home building and so forth, were all of a sudden, they couldn't sell anything. They couldn't rent anything. All of a sudden, there were several banks that became the biggest landowners in the state of Arkansas. Builders would take the keys in, drop them on the desk. It's yours now. So there was a lot of problems during that period of time, and it took a long time, almost 6 or 7 years, to rebound from that situation. So if we take a look at what happened at that time, there was a situation where I think council felt that pressure to do something about it. So we've taken a look, and this is where I want to go with it. Ty and I and Daniel have spent some time sort of trying to analyze what's going to happen. Number one, the city, David, and you know this, is wanting to go ahead and raise sales tax by 1% for infrastructure purposes, basically. That's a good thing, and we certainly need that infrastructure help. What we have looked at are 3 different scenarios here, and we can talk about those as you go through it. But what we're trying to establish is what would be an appropriate baseline that our public would be willing to accept. And that's really at the end of the day. What can we take to council? What can we go ahead and take to the public that will be something that, I hate to say it, a pill that can be swallowed without being overly burdening the public with a new tax? Keeping in mind again, and we have to say this every time we do this, it's not coming out of the pockets of our collectors, it's coming out of the pockets of the people that come here. And we always have to make that statement, and it's ad nauseum for most of us, but that's the reality of it. So this scenario, I think, is sort of interesting to take a look at. Happy to go through it, but we saw some perhaps opportunity. Now, the one thing that we can't do accurately is we can only go back and take a look historically at the amount of money we collected and then apply that 3% to it. So we know basically if you collect 3% of $1, you get 3 cents. Okay, if we've got that pool of money, 97% of that's out there somewhere else, to figure out what that money is. And if we were going to raise the taxes, what would that do? Don't know. Just really don't know. Yeah,
And you made a very good statement that ad nauseum we always say, this is not coming out of my revenue to pay the CAPC tax. It's coming out of what I had to charge my guests for. And what I am charging my guests for is the ability to advertise for the entire city, okay? Meaning that if I can't put heads in my beds, but Shop XYZ is increasing their income with 36% of tax tells me their income is increasing, okay, then something's not right. There's not an even field there. And retailers, I'm wondering back then, if they knew that this is not an expense coming out of your bottom line. I can only imagine what the council would have gone through at that point. It happens all the time with council members and getting pressure from stuff like this. But, I'm about it being fair and it being honest. And like you said, there's discussion now about adding a 1% across the board sales tax for infrastructure.
The complication at that time, David, and this is really silly, it's 3 words: tourism-related retail. That became the crux. We had retailers out there that would basically blatantly say, I am not selling to tourists.
Oh, bull.
Yeah, I have a shop on Spring Street, but I don't sell to tourists. I only sell to the locals.
I'm sorry, but that's total bullshit.
I mean,
I believe you.
that was
Oh,
the,
no. This is literally what had happened at that time, going back historically into things like the Lovely County Citizen newspaper. There were people that saying, I don't sell to tourists. All my business is basically the locals. And, you know, there was a whole bunch of those. It was a coalition of those people that basically came forth and, you know, demanded that, okay, you can't do that. Now, in the municipal league book, it says that you can tax tourism-related businesses. So you have to define what that is. And therein is the rub, if you will. So, you know, wherever we go with our discussion this evening, keeping in mind that that really is the active ingredient, you know, to go ahead and make the bread rise, we have to define what's a tourism-related business and what is not. Service industry is not, for instance, professional services, your doctor, your lawyer, you know, your dentist and so forth, they are not. On the other hand, there are tourism-related businesses because they sell stuff to people that walk up and down the street.
you know, I mean, this is a very delicate situation, absolutely. The thing what I see, and I remember, I was not here 2007, but I remember about hearing discussions about it. And of course, it was the main argument was that the retailers would say, we're handicapped because of the high taxes versus the online shopping, you know, like,
That's
so
what I heard.
so people could just go out and say, hey, I'll rather buy it on Amazon because I only pay my home sales, my tax at home and not the tax here. That's one thing, but the thing, if the 1% goes on the general sales tax, which I believe we should probably do that. I don't know how Hearts, for example, or a Dollar General or something like that would appreciate, or all the gas stations, which with their little convenience stores, if they would have to sell their stuff 2% or 3% higher. It is a lot of money, or a lot of, eventually it will be a lot of money, you know, like, it sounds like not a lot, 2 cents per dollar, but eventually, I'm afraid that it could kill a little bit of some of the businesses, you know, but it's very delicate to find the right balance.
Are we talking about, Robert, are you talking about making the A&P tax across the board fair, or are you talking about this 1%?
Well, it affects everything. I mean, like, if you do the 222, for example, which the tourists would see, oh, okay, I'll pay less in the restaurant, I pay less in the lodging part, but then I pay more retail. I don't know if our calculation will match up, if that's not going to cripple the retail, that people would say, you know what, I just don't buy anything in Eureka Springs because it's too expensive. I'd rather go to Berryville and buy it there.
I could be wrong, and this is solely a judgment,
But I have to eat here.
I think that the tourist is not the person who's most concerned about this. Most of the tourists come with money to spend, and they're grateful to spend it, and they're happy to spend it on things, places to stay, stuff to eat. That's what they come for. I know I'm not nitpicking my taxes when I go to wherever, you know, on a vacation. I'm buying what I intend to buy and having a good time. I think it's the actual retailers that we have the biggest issue with. And I had heard a similar thing, that one of the reasons that they at one point in time wanted to not pay the CAPC portion of tax was because of so much online shopping option was affecting the sales. And as it sounds, that's not the concern.
Well,
it was one.
And this is the thing. If you expect, we all here are charged with getting people here, getting them in our hotels, right? I don't think anybody would deny that. We do not make people come here to shop. They come here on their own to shop. They're not going to come here, get a hotel room, and then shop at Amazon. They're going to visit the stores downtown. They're just going to do it. So, now I just lost my train of thought, sorry.
Well, I don't disagree with any of these points. They're all good ones. I just was saying that I had heard similar things too, that with the advent of all of this online shopping and stuff, that folks were at initial, when that took off so highly, I think that they were feeling like the sales were hindered some with vacationers, but obviously the numbers are not reflecting that same data anymore. So I think that's a good reason to consider it. Heather?
I have had retailers approach me and ask if we would reinstate the tax. I think that what happened 19 years ago, we're in 2026 now, is not the case today. And so I realize, because sometimes I'll pause moments in time as though it were yesterday, but it's been almost 20 years since this ordinance stuff occurred. I think that we, just as with other proposals that are going to be presented to City Council, we need to do some work and actually ask people what they think. I know that they don't show up to CAPC meetings a lot, but this is an important conversation to have with business owners, number one. Number two, to Mike's previous point, we need to finish figuring this out with legal counsel and whether or not it is actually legal for us to pursue this. I feel like we're kind of having these conversations and spinning our wheels when we haven't gotten a definitive answer from legal. And that seems like the next appropriate step versus continuing the conversation when it might all be for nothing. And I mean that respectfully. I just think that without consulting with legal, it may not be worth having the conversation.
Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but legal counsel for the city did say it was up to CAPC to bring it up to City Council.
I believe that's correct, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it has
we've
been
got
discussed with council.
But the last email that we
Let me-
got said the attorneys were in disagreement.
Well, no, let me say this. We've got a couple of issues going on right now with legal. One is the collection of taxes. That's a legal issue. And then we have this issue, which is a potential tax increase. And we're back and forth between the city attorney and our attorney. Neither one has come to the table yet with an answer, and that basically has been in both, I guess, divisions, if you will. Ms. Cox is doing basically the collection work to determine what the certificate of indebtedness is that we have talked about in workshop also, and we've got not a complete answer on that yet, so is Watkins. But it was only recently that we presented this to Bill, that our attorney at Rogers has had to pursue this. And it said basically it probably goes back to the enabling legislation that was passed anyway back at the time that the CAPC was created, as well as A&P commissions and CVPs in the state of Arkansas. And he wanted a little bit more time to go ahead and dig into that particular issue. I think what we are still at the essence of is at one point we did see, again, this tourist-related business, retail, whatever that is, that definition was never really put together in a very good way. It wasn't explained quite well. So to Robert's point, what's going to happen with groceries, what's going to happen with those types of retails? It takes a very complicated point of sale system. If you take a look at, go to the grocery store and see what's taxed and what is not taxed, you'll see that in the point of sale system. That's going to be one of those issues that would always come into play versus a retail store that's on Spring Street that only sells like one thing that could be taxed on every item that goes out the door. So there's going to be a little bit of give and take on how that's interpreted. I think the thing that we looked at again, and let me jump ahead just a little bit here, but Heather's right. We really would probably appreciate, number one, Michael Akins being here to determine a little bit more information about, as Robert suggested, what is the dollar amount that, maybe we're looking at. And Michael could have probably some great conveyance on what that particular issue is. And I think it's kind of like we did the other night with the permanent entertainment district. We need to have another workshop. And we really need to go ahead and get some input on that based on what Heather is saying, so we understand what direction we would take. The one thing we did, though, in this analysis, and I'll be real quick, Robert, because I know you want to say something about this. We took a look at what would happen if the city sales tax went from 1% to 1.25. And that 0.25 would be then the tourist-related tax, which would be remitted back to the CAPC through DNFA. In other words, we would go ahead and lower the actual CAPC tax to 2%. And that other 0.25 would make up perhaps for that retail difference that we're seeing that huge spike in, that 36%, David, that otherwise we're not getting any money from. Second point, we do collect, or at least the city is the recipient of anything that's bought online. It goes to sales tax, and that is remitted back to us. So even though it may not be going back into the pocket of the individual retailer, at least the city's seeing that tax come back. Because now, I don't care who you buy from across the United States, and Congressman Womack had a lot to do with this. We had to tax everything that was sold online coming back in the state of Arkansas.
One thing I wanted to point out. So if we're talking about 222, I mean, let's go and think that we get that 1% sales tax increase for the infrastructure. I would not oppose for it, because that's the only way to get us a new sewer system and updated water pipes and sewer lines and everything. So I just want to get a little bit away from just the full numbers. We could also discuss, say 2.5 and 2.5 for lodging and restaurants, and what you said, maybe that 0.25 or 0.5 or 1% only on retail, and see how that works. But before we can really continue discussing what's the financial outcome of the whole thing, we really need to know how much would that actually generate if we have whatever percentage we take from retail, and what would that, how would our budget then look like? I also like to point out, I'll go back in history, same thing, to like 2013-14. CAPC had a budget of $1.2 million, I believe, $1.2 million. And back then, I remember I had an argument with Bobby Foster back then. We were talking about getting a credit line of $50,000 from the bank because we were blank. We didn't have money anywhere. And we finally were able to get the money. But the point is, we were at 1.2 million. We're over 2 million now. So we have a lot of money available. We just have to make sure that we make the best out of it. And what Mike said before, you can't buy success. So like, we can advertise as much as we want. If we can't provide what the people are expecting from the town, then any advertising is a nonsense point, or it's a moot point, yeah. So we kind of have to make sure that the city stays attractive to do business in this town, and not just outprice ourselves. So it's a very difficult point.
And I don't disagree. And I also, Heather, agree with you that I absolutely want the public involved, and I want them to ask questions. I want to bring it up because I think it's an option. Am I for it or against it? Change my mind.
Sure.
Okay? Let me know how you feel. And I say that with everything. With that being said, I remember when you all went to GovCon, you made a comment, Mike, about they're even trying to eliminate the taxes that Airbnb and VRBO pay. So that's something that we haven't discussed here. Correct?
It's cabal.
Well, it was discussed in the Arkansas legislature. It never made it out of committee. This has been a while ago, during the last legislative session, that it had come to the attention of the legislators that Airbnb, well, we didn't know who it was, but we kind of know who it was, wanted to go ahead and eliminate that short-term rental opportunity and take it away from the cities. And that still could happen. Now, the recent legislation, which we talked about, was for basically the DF&A to collect all of the A&P taxes. Well, we have come to understand through the ACVB that that's not going to make it to the session. And that's going to be probably put on the table if it ever comes up.
So that is no more. Okay, perfect.
No more than we know right now. So.
Okay, and then
One thing I wanted to add real quick, because we're on topic on that. In our Arkansas code, in that 2675, I think it's 603, huh? There's a section 3, and it says that the Department of Finance and Administration shall have no authority to enforce or collect the tax levied under 2675-602. This is in the state code. So what they were trying to, that the DFA would collect sales taxes in our sales taxes would legally actually not even be allowed unless they would change that code.
Well, that's the reason that the lawsuit went to one state, and that's the reason that all of a sudden the AML, the Arkansas Municipal League, raised its eyebrows and said, okay, let's take a look at this and see what it is they're trying to do. And obviously, I think probably, I can't say that lobbyists have done anything about this, but I'm going to assume, at least in the case of the Arkansas Association of CVBs, our lobbyist has probably talked to some legislators and said, no, this is not what we want to do. And I think they just basically pulled it and said, this is not the time to go ahead and get into that discussion. Because to your point, Robert, it's on the books right now. You'd have to change the books.
I mean, when you brought it up, for me, it was obvious that somebody wants to be the collector and somebody wants to collect the commission to do the work. It's just another sidekick. Same thing like all the online travel agencies, they take away from our money technically, last year I found another website who advertises my business, and they're using the platform from Expedia and Booking.com, and they created another platform, so they funnel the reservation through their platform and then into Expedia or Booking.com, whoever, what they choose. It's just unbelievable that how many people just try to collect from our money. It's just, and somehow I hope we can find a stop to do this. If I would make a suggestion, I would suggest that the whole town would just get rid of Booking.com and Expedia. And say there's only Jackrabbit.
Do it.
We have the tool. That's the craziness. We have the tool on the Chamber of Commerce website. We should get that on our website. Mike probably remembers that when Jackrabbit was presented to the CAPC, half of the commissioners were in favor and half were not. And it was $7,500, and we didn't have the money to do it. And it was like, what the heck? I was disappointed that we were not able to catch that, because it would have been a no-brainer. But the argument was like, oh, this is too much work for the website because we have 200 collectors or 200 lodging businesses we have to put into that Jackrabbit. Now, we missed that part. And like I said, if we would all say there's only one platform, either way, your own website, or you go to Jackrabbit, which funnels back to your website, and you pay a fixed amount to that company. That's how you book Eureka Springs, and there's no other way.
I love this idea. I think you should spearhead that and go out and get every lodging to agree. If you could get everybody to play that game, that sounds absolutely.
I think that's another
Know how
workshop.
that
You would have to have a consent of everybody. If we do it all that, and then everybody knows, if you go to Eureka Springs, that's the platform you have to use, or book directly.
I'm afraid that, there's so many
I know,
factors that go into that.
fantasy.
That's a toughie.
So, Mike and Ty, I guess this is for y'all. I'm looking at the versions that you gave us, the scenarios, and like where you have total bar and restaurant at 12.37, that's kind of not correct, because you have liquor, beer, and wine that has not been factored in here. And like for liquor right now, it's 36.75% tax.
Ooh.
Yeah.
On top of it, or
So we pay 9.375 for retail, state tax, 3% CAPC, 14% state liquor tax, and a 10% city liquor tax.
so that gets the 36.
Yes.
Wow.
So, and that's just on your Mai Tai or your rum and Coke.
Yeah.
Then you've got a separate one for like beer and wine to go. You have beer and wine to go, or beer to go, right? Yeah. You know, that's a 9.375 retail and a 3% CAPC. Then you've got all the other stuff. But yeah, so these scenarios, although I love the fact that you did it this way, don't reflect what we're actually paying.
David, that is your cross to bear.
Oh, yeah, I know. Trust me. I know.
That-
And it's all of the restaurants and the bars crosses to bear. And all we're trying to do is to let somebody else maybe take off part of that cross.
Well, I wasn't trying to say that to be flip, David. What I was basically saying is, as we've discussed before, when you open a bottle of orange juice, all of a sudden it's a taxable entity, regardless of what you do with it. But if you pour it into vodka, all of a sudden it's taxed. That's a complication. I think really where I would like for us to go, number one, is to go ahead and bring Akins back in, Michael Akins from the city, and visit with him. I think we need to go revisit this issue to see what the development is with the 1% tax that the city wants to put on. And then also we can do some analyses on what type of dollar amount that we're actually dealing with right now, because I don't know exactly what that's going to mean. Again, we want our guests to come to town. We want them to have a good time. What we really want them to do is to go shop, sit, stay, sleep on a soft pillow, have a good time, and then be able to tell their friends how great the experience was. We will be dealing every day with our local economy at some level. We know that, but that's why we're in business to do that. So I think really our comfort level really goes down to the one important thing, that's knowledge, and that's the power we can assimilate and understand how we should go forward with this process.
And I can give you some insight on the 1% sales tax that City Council is talking about. We are just talking about it. Michael gave us a couple of options. The City Council is in agreement with the 1%, but we haven't voted on that. And then that will only be a vote to put it on the ballot for November's election.
That was going to be my
So
next
we
question.
we don't decide that. It's up to the voters. So
I mean, the same thing would happen if we do a change here. And not to be pessimistic, but I'm not sure if the people who actually vote for a change like that, if they would really go for it. The 1%, that's arguable. You know, like people would understand that. Even locals would not fight it, I'm sure, because they would say, hey, we have so many tourists, they need to help paying for infrastructure because that's what they use.
I get locals daily that call me, and I am not paying this 1% tax. I don't care what it's for.
I'm sure they will always find those. Yeah.
Try to explain it. You know, if you want your toilet to work and you don't want your water coming from the back of a green truck from the National Guard, this is like literally the only option we have, because we're looking at $50 million worth of stuff that needs to be done. But we're not here to talk about that tax.
Well, the other thing is we need to find sponsors. You know, like, I don't know, we have to have big companies who sponsor our sewer.
Where are they?
Yeah. I mean, that would be the counter argument. You know, where's the money coming from? I mean, like,
So could I ask then?
we have Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and then like the little Walmart logo in the corner of Tyson or so.
Could we, I mean this so respectfully, but just to take it back on track, what are the next steps from here?
Thank you.
I mean, I think your idea that you had earlier is let's involve the public, let's invite the public, let's invite retail, let's invite the stakeholders that are already currently contributing, and just sit down and have a powwow. And I'm going to say this to Danielle and Mike: please don't put it on a random city website. Put it on Facebook. Put it in the paper. Because otherwise, we're going to have all this meeting and all these people present, and nobody show up.
Like a town hall?
Yes.
The other thing, the CAPC staff does such a great job with education, and not to pile more on your plate, but to the point of I'm not paying it. Every time I hear that, it makes me cringe, because the customer is paying it. You are a conduit. Nothing is coming out of your pocket unless you're the customer. I think some education around it, because the retailers who have spoken to me think it's a grand idea. They want to see more retail advertising, and they are pro pay, like, let me do it, let me collect it and pay it out. So those who are educated about it seem very on board, and I think at the risk of sounding cliche, education is key, and perhaps we could offer that as well.
One of our collectors just said it best a couple of days ago. If everybody that has a business in Eureka Springs would promote the town on their Facebook, their website, their Instagrams, their TikToks, that exponentially could be 100% increase in business.
Yes.
Just by virtually taking your phone and doing your own promotion to help yourself and help this town. So that's the word of wisdom for today. Promote us.
Well,
Please.
when we talk about the CAPC and the education that you all provide, we do have workshops and things that are to help our
They're fantastic.
tourist businesses be most successful in doing their part. And the unfortunate thing is thus far from what I've seen, the turnout hasn't been as great as it could be. So I encourage everybody to get out and come to the workshops and things to learn about how these taxes work, about how to advertise your business on your socials and on your website. There are some good resources available, and I also know that the folks at the CAPC are always happy to take phone calls and help people.
Yeah, so if we could do, it's obviously going to take another workshop or two, who knows? But if we could, and Danielle, I just have to look at you because you're the one there. If we can just figure out a way to make sure that we get maximum visibility to people to show up, retail, residents. I don't know how that works. That's not me, but I know Facebook, I know print. Let's decide, yes, we'll spend money on print media to get it out there, whether it's a half page in the newspapers. They'll give you a discount, just ask for it.
I'll pass out flyers.
Do we have an X account? No.
No.
I don't have any, so I don't know.
We could do it.
But is that
I have
something,
one,
is
but
that something, a platform we should feed, or?
Well,
It's like LinkedIn. We can put enormous amount of information out on both Instagram and Facebook. And obviously press releases to our two newspapers and other media, and that's not a particular problem. So how much is on X, I don't know. I have an X account, but I don't use it.
it's a matter of management. We don't want to spread ourselves too thin, and we want to go with the platforms that are most demographically utilized for our region. And so
I understand. I'm
no,
not
that's-
saying go and have an X
That's the
account.
short answer.
I'm just asking because like I said, I don't use X. Never will, never will. I will never do that. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of getting the information out there, whether we want to hang a banner at Spring Street. I know that's another hot topic for discussion. We could do that. I don't care.
We're
It just
having too
needs
much
to
fun at
get
the
out there.
workshop.
I'll
This
pass
is
out flyers.
I need a sponsor for that banner, please.
I think we have the money in our account to do that.
Okay, we'll do it.
And also, I think that this topic that we're discussing here is a fantastic opportunity to collaborate with Main Street. Between them and the chamber, I'm not sure. But there's a huge collaboration here that could work, and I think we need to try and make that work.
I mean, one thing what Mike kind of pointed out is really, I walk my dog pretty much every day through the downtown. And, when I see the crumbling sidewalks, the roads, I mean, we're like 1980 sometimes, like the city needs to update or do everything in their power to make the property owners to keep up their property values, their property appearance. I mean, our town looks really sometimes like a hillbilly town. And I don't know what Public Works does, but I mean, I never see the street sweeper. Our roads are filthy. And I mean, if we should be able to have, if one machine is not big enough. We need to have another machine. That street sweeper should be on the road every day and clean the roads and the sidewalks, like that's what I see. And that would be a big advertising for our town, but our town looks really like backwards Arkansas a lot of times. And I live here 17 years now, and I mean, like, it seems like the last few years it went south, like down, and that's sad to see. And we need to find, maybe from our side we can only advertise so much, I guess, but the city needs to really use their dollar to maintain everything. And I mean, like, when I read about the situation that we couldn't plow roads because there was not equipment available. Like, get it, have it. That's part of it, Or people say, the trolley depot downtown, after 5 o'clock, it's closed. So people who need to go pee, they have no place to go. Or I don't know about the other bathroom in the corner of the Eureka Grill. I think that one stays open most of the time. And it needs to be cleaned, it needs to be maintained, or here the bathroom at the auditorium.
Can I make a suggestion, Robert?
Sure.
You're bringing up issues that are not pertinent to this workshop.
No, they're right.
I don't want to keep, laboring this point on, because I do see the street sweeper about every other day in town.
You see it.
So let's just go ahead and move on if we can. We've got a really important decision that we have to make in reference to the officers of this organization, and in the interest of time, I'd like to see if we can go ahead and move forward to the next item. I'm not trying to interfere, Robert. I don't disagree with your comments.
I do think we have clear-cut
we've got things to do.
delineation on where to go with this. I think everybody in this commission agrees that it is a good time to step out and talk to your retailers, talk to your friends out there in the community and see what the feelings are and take note of that, and that we're also going to contact Michael Akins in regard to weighing in a workshop and finding out kind of a dollar amount to go to these hypothetical scenarios. So
are we looking at the workshop April 15th? Are we looking at the workshop in May? What are we looking time frame?
How apropos
I know,
to be on
tax
April
day.
15th on tax day.
How appropriate, right? I was like, theme.
I am okay with moving that to the April 15th workshop if everybody else is good with that. Does that sound good?
Let me, do you guys do a lot with springtime in the Ozarks? Because that's the day before springtime.
That is the day before.
So are you guys going to be like swamped with stuff?
We just have to open up the auditorium. That one actually is a highly attended but very low prep.
Well, I guess my question is, would it be better if we moved it up a week or back a week?
Now for the,
I don't think it makes any difference.
Okay,
really.
just wanted to check.
It should be
Danielle's right. This is we don't have to do much.
Okay.
Okay.
They know the ropes.
they do.
Okay, so then my understanding is that we will be moving this subject matter to the workshop April 15th at 5 p.m. Okay, so next matter of business would be the update on secretary-treasurer positioning. Currently, that's Heather, who is acting secretary and doing a great job. I know that Heather has said that she's okay with these recording device assist at continuing for now, but
Here are my concerns. One, we do have bylaws, and I am concerned we are not abiding by those bylaws with me continuing to act as secretary. I just want to be very transparent there. Two, my commission expires in June. The secretary role is for 1 year. I am not commissioned for 1 year. Whether or not I get a unanimous vote if I decide to continue and from the city council and the mayor decides to swear me in, that all remains to be seen. So I think we shouldn't count our chickens before they hatch, and we should do what is within our bylaws and go from there. If there is some kind of permission that says it's okay for me to do this until someone wants to step up, I feel more comfortable with that happening I don't want this to be a let me ask forgiveness later situation. In other words, I know it's just a title. There's not really much to it. Dollars don't flow through my hands, but I like to follow the rules.
So just for clarification, what you're saying is because the bylaws say commissioners shall also elect a vice chair and a secretary treasurer whose term shall be for 1 year, you're stating that you question the legality of the fact, since your term ends in June, that you won't be serving a full year as secretary.
Correct. I just question whether that's within our bylaws and I haven't been elected as secretary for 2026.
Yes, David.
Didn't we talk about this at the last regular meeting where we asked Danielle to use the AI devices that were available?
Yes,
Can,
as I recall.
were we going to discuss this with legal?
What we can do is, we can go ahead, for instance, we are recording this meeting right now. There is a transcription of that meeting. In the commission structure of the state of Arkansas, there was always the chair, vice chair, and the secretary. These are appointed positions by the commission or commissioners. And Heather's right to that point. You really do have to have that official title. The point being, though, however, as we've discovered with other commissions in our city, that it is a very difficult position for some reason to go ahead and fulfill. So it has been basically handed down that there is an official secretary that needs to be said, he is secretary, by vote of this body. However, the responsibilities of taking the minutes, the notes, and so forth can be assimilated or put in the hands of a staffer, basically approved by moi, and then we can do business that way. However, all those minutes and so forth have to be signed by that secretary to make it legal.
So is the secretary position mandated by Arkansas state law?
Apparently so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, every commission that I've looked at has at least those three positions, and some even go deeper. And I'm looking at Arkansas Natural Resources, Arkansas State Police, Arkansas Land and Heritage. I mean, there's a whole litany of them that you can really dig into this. But every one of those commissions has got those three positions as elected positions. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know what, so I guess where does that leave us?
I'm not exactly sure where that leaves us. I mean,
Robert.
Well, I'm not interested in writing the minutes,
again, I think we would have to check, I guess, with somebody, an attorney or something, as to how strict that 1 year term is.
Well, it says we can be reelected.
I mean, you can't really guarantee that, because somebody technically could leave a commission at any point in time. There's no way to ensure that somebody is definitely guaranteeing a year, I mean, something could happen, heaven forbid, So I don't imagine that that's where we're tied, where our hands are tied. But it is a good point to bring up, and I think we probably ought to double check.
You'd be considered a lame duck, but then on the same token, you could be reappointed and be a real duck.
I've been called worse to my face and behind my back.
I witnessed one of those.
No,
So I
mean,
guess if I can...
the question would be, are you planning to resign after your term is over, or are you staying on? That's the number one question.
I don't think she's made that decision.
If you say I'm going to stay because I hope I will be reelected, or
Yeah.
then I don't see that that we have to discuss this very long.
Let me back up for one moment, Robert. If I submit minutes as secretary, are they within our bylaws? Okay. To answer your question, I don't know, to be very transparent. I am in a doctoral program, I'm teaching, and I run a small business, and it's a lot in addition to serving. And so it is something that my husband and I are discussing now, and what my load looks like, and I will make a decision soon.
And I'm sure those terms are term limits rather than minimums. Or, they're probably more concerned about people staying on longer than people staying on shorter for those terms.
I do think also that it's a good time to mention that we still have a seat available for anybody to throw their hat in the ring, and that would be very helpful
Where is that
in situations like this, because if we had another commissioner who did not have a term ending coming up, we might be able to reframe how these things look. So just putting that out.
Well, I mean, I don't know, my suggestion was still, like Mike said it before, if one of your staff members would take over the minutes, and I'll sign the minutes, I'm okay with that.
Are you
That's the
volunteering?
point. But you know that during the winter time, there's times I will not be around. If that can be bypassed, I'm okay with it.
Well,
But I'm not going to write minutes, I'll tell you that.
Sure, okay. Well, you're in the same position that Heather is, because I think your term is also up in June. So I think what we can do is either one of you, delightfully so, could go ahead and assume the position of secretary, and then the next meeting vote on it as to what you want to do. Now, also, it is not prohibited that a city council person can be in that position as well. We know that because we've had city council chair, vice chair, and so forth, and we have one that I don't see her yet, but she could be here at some point, and we could just sort of say, hey, you're it. Tag.
Solemn tell.
Okay.
Y'all can look at me all you want.
I'm going to go ahead and say, Susan, I'm so sorry. Well, I think that we've adequately covered what we had on our agenda for today. So if everybody, yes, Robert?
I do have one thing. We have talked about it, but we need to talk about it, and that's diversification of our bank accounts. I think, it's very risky to have all our money on the same bank.
Hey, Robert, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do not think we can talk about that tonight because we didn't announce it.
And
We can definitely put it on the agenda for the next
yes,
meeting.
no, well, either way, we put it on the agenda, that's correct, or on the work. We talked about it last year, that we will have a workshop over it.
We can add that to our
But it was never
agenda coming up for the
Sorry about that. I just,
No,
for the
it's
official
okay.
meeting,
We
so
don't-
that actually has made it on the agenda in enough time for everybody publicly to have that announced that that'll be a topic. And our final meeting this month will be our regular meeting. I
So
apologize.
can we put that on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes.
I wrote it down.
Okay.
And that CAPC regular meeting will be at 5 p.m. April 22nd,
Nope.
which is a Wednesday.
March?
March.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong
Yes, you are.
month. I changed to April 1st. Thank you. Okay, then I lied. It's the 25th. March 25th at 5 p.m. Here in the lower level at the Odd.
Hey, Shira, I don't mean to cut you off. Sorry, over here. I do have a copy of the bylaws as to what Heather was regarding to. If you guys want to take a look at that, I can put it on the screen for you right quick.
You're free to do that.
We
all
have it.
have
It's
it
in our
here in
notebook.
our book, and I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Yeah, you're welcome to share that. And you can find all of that information also online as well if you're ever looking for bylaws and things. Those are posted for public viewing. So I guess we can just wrap it up if everybody's feeling good.
Motion to adjourn.
I don't even think
we don't even have to adjourn.
we just can casually adjourn.
I know.
Just say I'm out of here.
Thank you.